Okay, week 5. So we've gone through 4 weeks, and it's Sunday technically, so we're a little past 4 weeks, and we are into our 5th week. And my floaters are still there. They haven't lessened at all, uh, but I am learning to deal with them. And it turns out floaters is. I did some research, and it turns out floaters is actually quite common when it comes to LASIK surgery. So that's not good. And so is dry eye. So, uh, as far as floaters go, it looks like they're not going to go away. So I'll have to deal with them. The good news is they only really appear if I move my eyes. So if I keep my eyes focused ahead and just move my head, I don't usually get them. So it's annoying. But from now on, I'm going to have to try and just move my head instead of my eyeballs. Uh, Other than that, my vision is finally during after 4 weeks. It's finally starting to improve as far as stability. So I'm finally able to uh, see clearly most of the time instead of only some of the time. So I still can't see clearly when I get up. I still have to wait like uh, an hour before I can clearly see everything. But before, like most of the day, everything would be blurry and out of focus. Like I could see it, but I couldn't really read it. I could just tell what it is and stuff. But now I can actually see clear as day. Like everything is perfectly fine. I can read the license plates from far away, outside my apartment. I can see everything. So my uh, eyesight is finally improving. Uh, we haven't had any complications like loss of vision or anything, which is good. But I am still taking eye drops. So the doctor said I could start reducing them. So we tried to reduce them and it kind of worked. So I'm starting to take them either every 2 hours or when my eyes need them, and see how long I can go before I actually need them. And it's funny, it depends on the amount of light and what I'm doing. So, and where I'm at. So, if I'm outside, it's like 90s outside right now. So, I end up needing eye drops like every 10 minutes, which I assume is because it's drying out my eyes. But if I'm inside and I'm just sitting at my computer, then I can go like an hour and a half, 2 hours before my eyes start hurting and I need to put eye drops in. But if I'm moving around, then I can go longer. It's weird. You would think I'd go shorter, but if I'm moving around, I can go longer by a little bit. But as long as I'm inside, uh, and it's not in the morning right when I wake up, because when I wake up, my eyes are like, nope, you need to give me eye drops. Uh, then I can go between an hour and 2 hours. Well, actually, like between half an hour and 2 hours. Uh, and the time randomizes. Like one time it'll be like, oh, you're good for 2 hours. And then the next time it'll be like, oh no, after half an hour, you need to give me eye drops. So it's fluctuating right now, and we're on our 5th week. So I'm hoping that since it's starting to get longer than half an hour like it was before, that it's improving, and that eventually I'll be able to stop. Uh, I did look up dry eye symptoms after LASIK, and it turns out a lot of people have dry eyes. And it turns out that it's permanent uh, for a lot of people. So I'm hoping I'm not one of those people. I'm hoping I'm not a statistic where my dry eyes won't uh, go back to normal. But we're only on week 5 of 8, according to the thing. So, because I don't think that we're gonna do the 6 week thing because the paper says 6 to 8, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to do the 8 weeks with the eye drops. Uh, oh, and then my eyes are finally healed. Look that way. It's hard to look at the thingy. Oh, there we go. So it's finally, let's see. Oh, there we go. Healed most of the way. So this eye still has that red line along the side there. But other than that, like that huge red blob that used to be there is no longer there. And then this eye is completely healed. There's no red blobs anywhere. So this one is still healing. This one at least is uh, no longer bloodshot. I assume it's still healing. Uh, so we're good to go with there. But it is longer than they stated. So we're on week 5, and I was told this would be completely healed within 2 to 3 weeks, and we're almost doubling the 3 week part. We've more than doubled the second week, this 2 week part. So I'm hoping uh, that it heals up by the end of this week. I hope it will. Uh, and then my eyes will be finally healed over. And I'm hoping once this eye is finally healed, that my dryness starts to improve quickly. Because I don't know if the dryness is from my eyes still healing, like my body focusing on healing my eyes, or what. But I'm hoping once they finally heal, that my dryness starts to go away. Uh, well, completely goes away. It has already started, but I still have to take artificial tears way more than they said I would have to. And then I looked up some research, and I found an article actually that where somebody had LASIK, and then either 7 or 14 years later, after LASIK, they uh, something hit their eye, and their flap completely opened up. So I was told when I got the LASIK, well, during my consultation before I even got LASIK, I asked if there was risk to the flap opening up. And I was told that the answer was no, that within 2 weeks it would heal over and be strong as steel. Not even surgery could reopen it, is what I was told. Uh, and that it would be perfectly healed as if you never got LASIK, as if the flap was never created. And that was only after 2 weeks. But according to the article, and they had pictures to prove it and everything, somebody like 14 years after they got their LASIK, which was the same type I got, uh, their flap completely opened up and was just hanging on by a little bit. And it was exactly where the flap had created. It wasn't outside it or anything. Like the entire flap was just hanging there because something hit his eye. And it's like, wait a minute. If it's supposed to be strong as steel and within 2 weeks, and like it never happened, and surgery couldn't even reopen it, then how did his flap get reopened? The flap shouldn't exist. I mean, it was. As far as I was told, the flap would heal and go straight back to what the eye was before. Uh, but this guy's flap, after 14 years, was still there because it reopened. And you can't reopen something that it doesn't exist anymore. So, and that is exactly why I chose the LASIK version instead of the PRK version, was because I was told that the flap would be permanently, healed, strong as steel, and no longer there after 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, the flap couldn't be reopened. But apparently, there's cases of people going 7 years and having their flaps reopened. And it's like, wait a minute, like, this doesn't line up to what I was told at all. So now I'm beginning to uh, feel kind of ripped off and used and lied to, because that was the one thing that was going to make me go PRK instead of LASIK, because I didn't want the chance of that happening. And it turns out not only is it possible, but it has happened to multiple people. So now it's like, I have to worry, is my if my flap is going to reopen. If I do something, if I fall, is my flap going to reopen? If I do something else, skydiving, water sports, if I do something that, water or something hits my eyes, is my flap going to reopen years later? Uh, and that is exactly what I didn't want to have to worry about. So, kind of feel like I was taken advantage of, because I specifically asked about that and they told me it wasn't possible. So, uh, it's turning out to, at this point, to be that LASIK isn't really worth it. Uh, it's turning out, at this point, it's turning out that this review will be like a negative review, because I'm finding out all this stuff that I was told wasn't going to happen. That the chance of it happening was so slim, it was impossible. Uh, and and yet I'm finding out, no, that's not the case. It actually does happen. Uh, and it's not as strong as they said it would, and it doesn't heal like they said it would. So, uh, I'm hope. So at this point, I wouldn't recognize or I wouldn't recommend LASIK. One, because you have a high chance of getting floaters, because apparently that's a common thing that they never mention during your consultation or in the paper you sign. Uh, if I'd have known all this stuff was gonna come into effect, if I'd have known I was gonna get floaters, if I'd have known that the flap could reopen 14 years later, uh, I wouldn't have done it. Like, the floaters alone would have stopped me from doing it. I'd rather have glasses than deal with floaters. They're so annoying. I mean, they're manageable, but they're still annoying. And even if I didn't know about the floaters, if I'd have known the flap could open, I would have gone with PRK. Had they told me from the beginning that the flap can open and doesn't permanently heal, uh, then I would have gone with PRK, and just dealt with the pain for the first week or two instead of dealing with the possibility of my flaps reopening. Luckily, my flaps have not reopened, uh, and I don't plan on getting hit in the face with anything. And if I go swimming or skydiving or anything, I'll be sure to wear goggles just so the wind and the water doesn't slap me in the face. I'll take precautions. It's not something that I feel I should have to do. Like, that's something that should have been told to me from the beginning, not found out 5 weeks after surgery. So I don't know. I think they need to update their consultation process to warn people of all these things that they're not mentioning. That way, when you go for it, you can make an informed consent instead of making a choice based on misinformation or missing information. Uh, so if you ever try to go for LASIK, be sure to ask them about floaters. And if they tell you that LASIK doesn't cause floaters, walk away because LASIK does cause floaters. I am living proof. Uh, and ask them about the flap coming open if you do the LASIK I got. So not PRK or PKR or whatever it is. Uh, but regular LASIK. Ask them if the flap can come open years later. Uh, and if they say no, if they tell you what they told me, and they say no, that it's strong as steel, a surgery can't open it, it can't be reopened uh, once it's healed, then walk away because they're not being honest with you. And Google can confirm this. If you Google it, you'll find articles of it happening to people. So they're not being honest if they tell you that the flap can't come open. If they tell you that the flap can come open, uh, then ooh, you got a good doctor. In which case, I would ask what the chances are. Uh, I haven't looked up the chances, so I'm hoping the chances are extremely low, and that if you do what I'm gonna do and like protect your eyes whenever you go to do something that could possibly hit it, like swimming, the water can hit it, or uh, skydiving with the wind hitting it and all that stuff, uh, that the chances would be really low. But that's it for this week. Hopefully, next time I update you, it will be with a completely healed eye and normal vision, like actual focused vision that isn't going in and out focus at all. Like right now, it's pretty good, but I still got that morning out of focus stuff where my eyes are like, "Wah, wah, wah, wah." So hopefully, uh, next time I update you, my vision will be focused from the moment I get up. Hopefully.